Alright, so I found out the button that's actually in the game. I did also change it back to default settings, I suppose, so I guess that's why.
I usually don't make videos that are this unscripted. I like to have a sort of outline to talk about, but there's a lot of things that I want to cover in this video. Really, the only way I can do it is by having a whole bunch of tabs on my internet browser open, so I can kind of go through them, tell you about the topic, which is why the TCG and the OCG ban lists are different. Now, this has always been a topic on people's mind, especially recently. I mean very recently. OCG ban list got announced or leaked. I don't think it wasn't. I don't know. Doesn't matter. The OCG ban list is out, and it hits a lot of decks that people really hate right now. So it hits pretty much all of the Draco cards. It hits pretty much all the Dinosaur cards as well. And Zoo is already in their format. So it hit almost every deck that people are having problems with. And this always brings the question whenever the OCG ban list gets announced. Man, why doesn't the TCG share list with it's so dumb. OCG gets their packs first, they get the hits faster than... And that is true as well, especially in the past year. The OCG has gotten way more ban lists just in quantity compared to the TCG. And I can see why people are angry, and I can sort of understand that. But what they have to remember, what many of you may not know, is that for the majority of Yu-Gi-Oh!, the OCG and the TCG ban lists were actually the same. And that was not good. It was not good at all. And in this video, I'm going to explore that a little bit by going through not only the September 2013 ban list, which was the first ban list that actually separated OCG and TCG in a significant way. Then I'm going to talk about the, I'm also going to talk about the 2012 March ban list, which was sort of, I think, the tipping point for a lot of people. And it is a perfect example of why the list should be separate. Now, I know you may not agree with my opinions here, and they are just opinions, but I wanted to go through the timeline so you guys have a better understanding and why these lists are separate. And
did I actually genuinely forget to bring my the lapis?
Separate. I know it's frustrating to release a TCG ban list, and I want a ban list more than anyone else, well, not for anyone else, but I want a ban list really bad. But also, you have to understand that the game is better off when the ban lists are separate. So let's go through a couple things here. First of all, we're going to take a look at Photon Shockwave. Now, Photon Shockwave, as you can see here on the Yu-Gi-Oh! Wikia, it came out in North America on November 2011. And the important thing that you have to know if you didn't play back then is that back then, the TCG exclusives weren't entire archetypes, they just supported the cards in the set. So if you scroll all the way down here, and by the way, Photon Shockwave is a set that had Rescue Rabbit and Balzarlagia, and this is basically the Dino Rabbit set. Tour Guide wasn't in the set, that was in the Extreme Victory 2 sets before. But if we scroll down here, you can see
I guess let's go run back.
I think 89 or 90 are TC exclusives. The big ones that I want to point out here are Wind Up Zenmains, Evolves Ardolka, Wind Up Rabbit. Now, those cards were very powerful when they were released. Wind Up Rabbit became a little better in the next set, but all those cards were definitely relevant. Eventually, all very expensive. Eventually, Dolko was a staple in Dino Rabbit. It made Dino Rabbit and TCG
Oh yeah,
much
there's
more
a village
effective
over there, according to the minimap.
Then we have Dolko, which was much more effective at dealing with multiple threats than Logia was. We also had Tour Guide, which is something that OCGs didn't have. Wind Up Zenmains was possibly one of the most impactful rank 3s in the entire game, and was $60 to $90 for months after its release. You can see here that there aren't two archetypes, it's just things.
Crags have increased emerald spawns, so that's interesting.
Chaos, you can see the release is January 14th to 15th, 2012. And we scroll down here, and this is a set, by the way, that had Zectors in it, and it had all the good windups. You can see we have windup Rat is in here, that's like the main one. We'll keep scrolling down here, keep scrolling down. When we get to the TC exclusives, once again, those are 81 through 89, yeah, so that was the last one too. And the really big standouts here are not only Zector, Hopper, and Tour Bus, but the biggest one is Wind Up Shark. Now, if you weren't playing back then, let me just tell you that at this time, Dino Rabbit wasn't the best deck, but it was played a lot. Tiny Plants was still the most popular deck, especially by pro players.
I finally found some cows.
But Windups and Inzectors were definitely really good. Inzectors were really feared back in the day. Inzector Hornet was just ridiculous. Inzector Dragonfly was crazy. But Wind Up Shark really revolutionized Wind Up.
Short-term rewards.
Imagine the OCG Order of Chaos format. So they don't have...
There might be some more cows over here in the shrubland or something.
They don't have Wind Up Shark, they don't have Wind Up Rabbit, they don't have Wind Up Zenmains, they don't have all these cards that really
Alright, good, I did it.
Two decks quite powerful. The Wind Up deck just didn't exist, to my knowledge, in the OCG. If it did, it definitely wasn't as popular as it was here. We were getting hand to like every game, and hand traps like Defectular and Maxi were just necessary evils against that deck. Not to mention the control aspect of Dino Rabbit, which just made, back in the day, unbreakable boards. I mean, your best opening was a Rescue Rabbit first turn into a Tour Guide next turn. That was nearly impossible for a lot of rogue decks to deal with, and most competitive decks for that matter. First, so you have two decks that are really big in TCG, and then we get a ban list. Let's take a look here. Now, I do technically have both here's the OCG one, and then here's the TCG ban list.
Why the hell is it really cold in here?
Are the exact same, except this was the last that's when they were the same. You can take a look here and what got hit. Well, the main things that got hit were all the plant monsters. So, Gold Ball and Spore Ban, Reborn Tengu to 2. Reborn Tengu to 2. And some other hits, but the surprising ones are that TG Striker and the Agent Mystery Earth went from unlimited to limited. Now, it might be surprising to TCG players because while agents were good, TG agents really weren't being played. Windups and Dino Rabbit were definitely more popular than either of the agent or the TG agent variant, and yet none of those cards are on the ban list. The reason for that is that back when the lists were combined, and this would basically be how it was for that whole deck.
I see now why it's really cold.
Determined by the OCG form. And that is really apparent here, because Tour Guide isn't on this list, Rescue Rabbit isn't on this list, Wind Up Hunter is on this list, Wind Up Shark is on this list, Wind Up Zenmaid is on this list, Wind Up Zen Carrier isn't on this list. None of those cards are on this list, and yet, randomly, TG Striker and Agent of Mystery Earth are. And that's because in the OCG, they don't have Dino Rabbit, don't have Windups at full power, they're playing TG agents. And when you combine the OCG list and the TCG list, you only base them off the OCG hits, which is what Konami did many years, and Upper Deck, I guess, back in the day. There's a problem, because this ban list in the TCG basically only hit Six Samurai sort of by having Chain Smoke Signal. Well, I guess, sorry, not Six Samurai, because that one's limited to 7 limit. My apologies. let me rewind here. It only really hit plants, and this, from the TCG perspective, was Konami's way of neutering plants so that the Exceed decks could become meta.
Whatever, I can.
Literally what happened. After this list, Dino Rabbit, Windups, and Exectors were super annoying and were almost always the top decks every single tournament, and no one was playing agents and TGs. That just wasn't a thing. No one was playing. The TG Striker was limited. What? Like, TG Striker was limited in format with triple Windup Shark, triple Tuber Guide, triple Rescue.
I can do enchantments
like,
later.
Cards, and people were fierce. I wasn't super competitive into the game, but I definitely was playing the game back then, and people were really mad that none of the TCG relevant decks besides plants got hit, and it just looked like Konami making a bunch of hits to push product, which is another debate for another time, but people were mad, very mad, and it just makes me wonder then why people want to go back to this situation. This is not good. It's not the best way to run the list. And when 2013 of September 2013 rolled around, you have a situation, people are pissed. There was a boycott YCS Toronto website that was up because people were angry. So this is coming right off of the national tournament where Dragon Wars and Spellbooks were basically the only playable decks, and people wanted revolution, basically. They wanted a lot of changes, and they wanted them now. And boycott YCS Toronto, that didn't happen, and people were pissed that the OCGs only making changes based on their format, although at the time, the OCG format and the TCG format were pretty close because it's Dragon Wars and Spellbooks, but Konami kind of dropped the bomb on us, and that was, the lists are separate. September 2013 forward, up until now, and for the foreseeable future, because we're so far apart at this point, they're completely different. And the September 2013 list was really important as well. I don't know the exact number of hits on it, but I believe it was the most number of hits on a ban list ever. There were so many cards that changed on this list, and we'll kind of go through here. What I have up now is a Yu-Gi-Oh! Organization article. I think there's actually one mistake in here, but that's not super important. But basically, what this shows is the differences in ban lists that were from September. So there were a lot of overlap cards, like the Baby Rulers were on there, and Spellbook of Judgment was obviously on there, but there's also a lot of hits that weren't on each other's list. So if we just briefly look at the Forbidden cards, OCG only banned 2 different cards that we didn't, but we banned a whole slew of things. This is actually when Elemental Hero Stratos got banned, Rip Stratos. You have like Zen Maid, you have Shockmaster, all these cards that Solemn Judgment, Pot of Avarice, Monster Reborn, Heavy Storm, stuff like that, Self-Destruct Button. All these cards were on our list, but they weren't on theirs. Changes don't stop there though. If you get onto this is the limited cards, this is all the OCG ones, and they have like Abyss TS, and their Stratos is limited, not Forbidden. And then you scroll down here, it's the TCG list. We got like a whole bunch of other random stuff. Wind Up Magician, Rescue Rabbit, Our Magician of Faith, it's limited, not theirs. Theirs is Forbidden. And then you keep scrolling down, go to the OCG unlimited or semi-limited here. They have like some zombie stuff, malicious, but we take malicious off the list because we get Stratos banned. So that's a big difference here. Is that one reason Stratos was banned is just inside. Is that by banning Stratos, you could take cards like Destiny Hero Malicious and A Hero Lives and E-Emergency Call off the list. But we keep going down to see a lot of trap cards. You got Mirror Force, Deep Prison, semi-limited. Go down to the unlimits, you can see Japan unlimits a whole bunch of stuff. Their stuff stays unlimited compared to ours. They have Self-Destruct Button still in the game. They have Spellbook of Fate still in the game at 3 copies. All these good trap cards, because like Eradicator Epidemic Virus was on our list as limited, I believe. Compulse was unlimited, and now it's limited on our list. Where we have just, basically we take the zombies and hero cards off the list. And that's a whole bunch of changes. I know it's a lot to sort of take in here, but this was a really important moment, because after this, the TCG and the OCG have never shared a ban list. Now, it's been a couple different times where just coincidentally hit the same cards, but there's basically no communication between the TCG and the OCG, which is probably not a good thing, but on ban lists, I think it's actually a positive thing, and I know it's going to be really hard to convince a lot of people that this is a good thing, unless you played back in 2012, 2011 time, because it's not good when you see cards that aren't affecting the TCG get limited, and cards that are affecting the TCG just not show up. Now, I think that Konami might not have the best practices for lists right now as far as not telling us when they're going to happen, not communicating why they make the changes that they make. But I do want to say, if you bottom of the card, in my mind, really, the TCG and the OCG list should not be the same. I can tell you that there's no unicorn list here where it hits the things that are affecting the TCG and the OCG. It's just not going to happen. No one's going to spend that kind of time. And personally, I think if you really mind to it, you'll realize that having slower TCG lists that actually affect what's happening in our format are better than faster OCG
I forgot I actually
lists
already
that
had
have
armor.
very little impact or sort of
Oh well,
misguided
can't hurt to
impact
have
in TCG
spares.
format. And hopefully going through here and going through the timeline, going through the history a bit of what made the 2013-2012 ban list so significant, made you realize that no, the lists don't really be together. But I realize this is going to be a very polarizing video, but it's just at the beginning. Let me know your thoughts, let me know your comments. Obviously, you know all of my thoughts and comments, but I do want to hear yours. Given all this information, if you watch through this video, if you still think they should be together, understanding that there's no performance that actually hits it's affecting both formats, that most likely combined this will only work with what's hitting or what needs to be hit in the OCG format. All those things considered, if you still think the lists should be together, please let me know why, because I'm very curious to hear your thoughts. Anyway, though, that's about going to wrap it up. Sorry for the little part off guard, not off guard. Discombobulated video here. It's not my usual polish, but I have so many tabs that I want to go through here. But yeah, I will see you guys later. Let me know in the comments what you think. Bye.
I still don't really get how this works. I'll have to look it up later. They turned the string just fine with the spear. This is actually a good place to store a lot of things. As soon as it gets cleared up, and hey, there's some more iron. Should make a bow. And a fishing rod. Thus, the next goal should be to procure arrows.
Hello everyone! Today we're gonna cover the second and last round of the American Cup 1 Division 1. It is the last round. There was 2 rounds. So, after this video, we will know who was the winner of the first American Cup. The true champion of the standard mode Advanced Wars by Web tournament. So, we had 5 players, right? If you watched the first round, you know there were 5 players. We have Voice of Akasha, Rip, Inkagard, Talos, and a player that has Chinese symbols. I will maybe put the Google Translate audio to say the name, because I will probably butcher it later. So, we have those 5 players, of which our Chinese symbol player, according to Google, it's called, in English, it's Dream Aaron. Okay, so our player Dream Aaron kind of timed out on the first 2 matches of the first round, and on the second round also, this match lasted 2 turns and then timed out, and then on this one it lasted like 6 or 7 turns, something like that, and then timed out. So I'm just not even gonna cover them because nothing really happened here. I'm just gonna cover these 3 matches. So the matches are gonna be Rip against Talos, we have Voice of Akasha against Inkagard, and we have Talos against Voice of Akasha. Now, I know you all want to know the points. So let's look at some scenarios, right? So here I have a little table I made to keep track of what's going on this tournament, because it's not an elimination stage, right? It's like a round robin, so they play against each other once against every other player, and they play in 2 different maps. So we already saw the first map, we already saw
I don't have mining fatigue.
And the results were that Rip had beat Voice of Akasha, Inkagard had beaten Rip, and Inkagard also beat Talos. And then the Chinese symbol player had a timed out on all of them, and also timed out on this one. So each of these 4 players, if we just look at these 4...
Why is Advanced Wars so popular in China?
1, right? They already have 1 win.
I mean, I know a Chinese person is the guy who invented the book called The Art of War, but...
little spaces that are gonna really impact now the results. Here we have the total points, right? And so, if we look at who can win, right? There are, out of the 4, I think, and I've taken a good amount of time to looking at this and looking at scenarios. So let's see. Can Voice of Akasha win here with only 1 point?
Jesus
Has
Christ.
2 matches still to go. So, if Voice of Akasha wins against Inkagard and against Talos, he reaches 3 points, which in the case that Inkagard, that only has 1 match to go, and it is against Voice of Akasha. So if Voice of Akasha wins and also wins against Talos, then it would be a tie between Voice of Akasha and Inkagard. And the first tiebreaker in that case is whoever won in their set. So, for example, if we just look at this isolated scenario where Voice of Akasha and Inkagard are tied at 3 points each, because Voice of Akasha won against Inkagard, then that means that Voice of Akasha wins that first tiebreaker, they'll win, right? So that could be one way where Voice of Akasha could win. In the case for Inkagard, it's very simple. If he wins against Voice of Akasha, then he just wins. like Inkagard just needs to beat Voice of Akasha. 4 points. There's no other way for Rip, Voice of Akasha, or Talos to have 4 points because they all lost 1 match. So in that case, Inkagard win. Talos, I think, cannot get the final win, even if he gets a win and a win here. It's 3 points, and then he'd be tied. But I think it'll be very explained if I explain Rip's situation. So Rip can also win, maybe,
if he wins against Talos, it would put Rip on 3 points. And say Inkugark loses to Voice of Akasha. No, yeah. So if Voice of Akasha wins against Inkugark and Talos, and Rip also beats Talos, then that would put Voice of Akasha at 3 points. It would put Rip at 3 points, and Inkugark at 3 points, and Talos would be at 1, right?
The hell?
And so we would have 3 players at 3 points each, and there wouldn't be a tiebreak of the first tiebreaker, because if you look at who
The
beat
meteor
each other
crashed
in
through
their own
here or
round- in
something?
their own matches, Rip had beaten Voice of Akasha.
These are some very pretty blue blocks.
Inkugark in this scenario, and Inkugark already beat Rip. So they all beat each other, so it would be a 3-way tie.
They're for create, apparently.
And that will take us to other tiebreakers that are set that are secret. So, once that happens, we'll look into it. So, basically, there are 3 possible winners, and depending on the results. And looking at that possible scenario for Talos, I don't think Talos can get to that 3-way tie. Because if Talos beats Voice of Akasha and beats Rip, then that means that none of these two could reach 3 points to have the 3-way tie, where, you know, there's that little circle going on with Inkugark. So even if Talos wins both and Inkugark
Aha,
loses,
a Fletcher.
it would just mean that Inkugark takes the win there. So we have 3 possible number 1 champions. So
Here we go then, time to cause deforestation.
let's look at the map. Okay, this is our map of the second round. It's called Rope Burn. It was made by Bob. It is a mixed base. It is 4 bases. There's 2 airports. There's 2 com towers per plane. Now, we have our little 2 base area over here. This is for purple base area. This would be the 2 base area for. I always move the map. Okay, let's fix it. There you go. This would be the 2 base area for brown. The thing is that this 2 base area is a bit split, right? You got this river here cutting through the middle, so it's gonna be very awkward for vehicles to combine from these 2. Yeah, you can combine infantry pretty easily now, but for vehicles it's gonna be very awkward because this base is also kind of responsible for this area, and also gonna want to go over here to maybe join with this one. This one is gonna be responsible for going like this into this area, maybe into this area for the com tower, possibly the Bend HQ. Then we have the side bases, which they're both 1 base with an airport, so they're not necessarily weak. They could be weaker than this one, but more or less. Because counters, as you'll see from the map, they're going to be very strong. It is very choking. You can see so many sea tiles, mountains, river tiles. There are very small chokes, little pathways here, this little shoal area. It is very small, and
200 blocks things referring to the village that's literally just nearby and within view.
for copters. So, copters flying around here, it's gonna be deadly. Like, make a copter here, boom, you're already dead in this area. Oh, they made an enter, boom, you switch upwards and you start dead in this area. Or wherever you go over here, like, copters here are gonna go crazy. There's 4 airports, so there's gonna be copters everywhere, and a lot of them. But yeah, the side bases, we got the 1 base, 1 airport over here. It's going to try to fight over here. Maybe trying to put pressure on the HQ if it can. And trying to go up here, probably fighting against this 1 base area for these cities, possibly. Probably also contesting this area against this base.
Shit.
These bases might want to combine, you know, like having control of this area right here, the com tower. You can combine this base with this one, have 1 big army, and then decide whether you want to push this way or whatever you want to. Same thing would happen over here with this base, taking control of this com tower area and combining with this base. So like, whoever controls this area, you can combine purple like this, or you can combine brown like this. That'd be pretty big. Same thing over here, you're going to control this area with brown because, of course, your HQ is there, so you don't want it to be under pressure. You can combine the vehicles of these 2 bases and maybe try to always move the map. Okay.
Yeah, there's more cows
Combine the army
nearby the village.
contest these cities, maybe these ones, or I don't know, this where there's going to be a lot. I haven't really looked at these matches that much or at all, so it's going to be a very big surprise for me. So, let's get right into it. This first match is going to be between Rip and Talos. So, they both decided to go with Jake. Let's change some colors first. Okay, I think I'm going to leave the colors as they are. Just do that. Because these players always pick these colors, so I would feel kind of bad by changing them. So,
Oh, dang it.
start off. The two bases starts very slow actually. The
NBT tag thingy,
the two infantry having to start the captures.
sometimes being
So
wacky,
the two
is still a thing.
Really slow at the start, while the one bases are going to have a little bit of a head start, I guess, the capture game. This one's probably easy. You go for the airport first. See what the other image did. Okay. Yeah, just going for the first captures. This one's gonna probably go for that.
Thanks
airport.
for the iron tools.
So let's see. There's a little chain over here.
Where'd the Fletcher guy go?
Second infantry probably wants to go wait for this city. Go this turn. Second turn. Yeah, I'd probably go here. As you go 1, 2, 3 for the port maybe. Something to see. Go for the airport. See who makes the first vehicle, right? So I got our first tank right here, actually, from Rip on the top left. It is the earliest that Rip could make a tank, and yeah, it doesn't seem like Talos could make a vehicle faster. So this is our first vehicle, and it is a tank. Now, I'm pretty sure that Adder was banned on this map. Let me just double check. Okay, yeah. So Adder was banned here. It is a tier 4 match, which I forgot to mention. But Adder was banned because copters here are just gonna go crazy, and having that early plus movement is kind of strong. Is too strong. And so, yeah, we're proven on other divisions that Adder was too over-centralizing because everyone was picking Adder, and I know people just didn't want to see more Adder mirrors. And so they banned Adder. So now the only options are Jake, Jess, Cole, Grim, and Sancho.
There you are. IRL, my man.
So you have Jake, Cole, and Jess.
You have gotten yourself
Yeah, I guess
an
you could
investor.
argue for Cole maybe as a replacement of Adder, because of that extra movement that he gets on the copters that Jake and Jess won't get. Jess, with those really bad copters, she's gonna struggle a lot. It doesn't seem like a very tank-heavy map, but I can see it as being a very good artillery map. So that's why I think Rip and Talos decided to go for Jake, get that possible extra range with artilleries, just the extra firepower is really nice.
Damn it.
And
No,
Jake's
where are the arrows?
are also pretty good because of that extra firepower that he gets during the power of the super. He doesn't get the extra movement on the copter, but the extra firepower is very nice. He can KO other copters with super. I think with the power, no. Might be close though. Actually, with 2 towers, maybe. But with super, I'm sure. I know that's a guaranteed kill. So, but I don't see a reason to pick Cole. So it's probably like between Jake and Cole. You either want to go a more artillery heavy approach with some copters, or you want to go more copters with Cole. The thing is that you're gonna get that extra movement with Cole, but it's gonna cost a little bit more. It's gonna to have the +1 is gonna take you an extra star than you would with Adder, for example. Or you can wait for a super or 5 stars to get the +2 one to add extra firepower. There isn't that many roads. Also, like, there's some roads over here. You always want to look at the contested space, right? Like, say this area is full of planes, so that's really nice for Jake. Here, you could argue there's some roads that would be good for Cole. This com tower has like 1 road next to it.
We need some gravel.
But I guess there's more planes, so I can definitely see why these two would prefer to go for Jake. So, we already have this first tank from Rip. We have it over here. It is not threatening any capture just yet. We had a response tank here from Talos that went upwards to kind of contest this little tank. And then Talos also made an artillery here. Although he had the funds to make something else. He could have made a copter. No, a copter would be base kit, but he could have made a tank somewhere else. But decided to make an artillery. And well, to see what it makes, well, what it does. I guess it makes sense because these tanks are kind of too early. Like, this tank is not really threatening anything. It's more so to be in position, possibly. About to see. So there's 16,000 already funds for RIP. So I'll have to see. We're gonna make a tank in the middle, double tank in the middle. Okay. So this capture is in range of this tank. So I think, yeah, this tank is covering that capture, but this one doesn't reach.
Why does the dirt have affinities?
Water to this area, which seems to me that it's going to be one of the contested spaces.
It might be because of primal magic that that's happening.
Let's just see. So utility could come and cover this capture. There's a copter being made over here. First copter, important. You mean what, a copter for infantry? That's 13k. I mean, he decided to make one copter and 4 infantry instead of making 2 tanks and 2 infantry. So that's a big decision to make. Making just 1 vehicle instead of 2 is important, because that means you have less coverage. You can see like Rip is gonna have 3 tanks, maybe more this turn. Tal only has 1 tank. This tank is sitting on that com tower as a sort of like, I mean, it doesn't attack here because it can retaliate. Just sitting there, maybe not wanting. I mean, you could really go for an attack here, attack on the planes, boom, and then you have this tank backing it up. They go for it. No. He decides to attack this infantry. This tank is covering it, but oh, this is not in range. Okay. Oh, okay. So puts the infantry instead of going for this capture, decides to block with this infantry, and yeah, it doesn't reach because there's this forest over there, and there's gonna make artillery. I'm gonna assume this artillery is gonna go down here. There's gonna be a big fight for this com tower, most likely. Like, Tal is in range now next turn to start this capture. It's interesting because this tank was covering this infantry, but so like Talos got a hit, but at the same time delayed this capture just because of this. Right? That's fine. So
Arrows.
infantry's gonna pull back. Tank is gonna be made to cover that
I'll take
infantry.
the egg, you never know.
And we're gonna get a little interrupt there. No com tower just yet for Talos, so we get the 7-7 instead of the 6-7. We're gonna go for a capture now. You know the worst thing about going for these?
This is some
without a
really
com tower is that
unfortunate generation.
not only it's not a 6-7,
Yeah, baby.
but it can actually be a 7-6, which hurts so much.
Go sleep in your guys' bed real quick.
Really nice. That's like, yeah, you're just never gonna get that CD pretty much. The other thing is, there's nothing covering this com tower cap. There's this tank. And this tank can get a hit here, right? I'm pretty sure. Like, this tank doesn't reach, this copter doesn't reach. So I'm gonna assume that this is gonna go over here. Boom. I'm gonna go for that com tower and this com tower. So starting a lot of caps over here in this area for red. Bring these 2 tanks together. Actually, Talos base keeping made triple tank and made nothing here. This tank is all along. This tank needs to retreat. So I wouldn't be surprised if this tank goes over to the city and these 2 infantry just like back up, because you're not gonna win and it's 2 tanks, another tank coming up to like, yeah. Gotta be careful. So Talos gonna start this capture over here. Got this first copter from Talos, and Yeah, just the first copter from Rip right now. Now I'm starting to see the chaos of mixed base, right?
Okay, I don't think Tyrell's ever gonna be selling arrows, which
But it's basically
really
so different
sucks.
from the previous map, right? This one's so choky. Like, look at these tiny fronts. Look at these tiny little one tile paths like they have to do. There's also this little bridge in the middle. It's like front switch if you want. You can also artillery log. Like, or you could bring an artillery, sit here, and log at this base, or over here, log at this base. Tank is gonna retreat. Yeah, okay, I'm just gonna hide behind here. Gonna make another copter. Wouldn't be surprised if we start seeing copters spamming right now. Why didn't that tank attack that infantry the other turn though?
Hey, instead of being lazy like that, how about you
It went back.
do something productive with your life, eh?
Maybe
Be a Fletcher.
maybe
You know
if
you
it
want
attacks
to.
from here, it can then get trapped by these infantries. Then the copter takes it out. I'm gonna assume it's something like that. So yeah. Where were we? So yeah, this is Rip's turn. Gonna get double com tower. Gonna get this little fight over here by the city. Gonna get this little interrupt. Same city's being fighted for. Gonna start this capture. And when I make an artillery over here, anti-air gonna really start to make those anti-airs to have an answer to these counters. But it's interesting because you start to see all this army now. All these infantry are finishing their captures, and now they need somewhere to go, right? Where do they go? There's nothing in the middle. You can try to go this way. There's only one seat to fight for. It seems like they're gonna try to go over here. And you can start really abusing that chokiness.
Hell yeah, Lydia.
Like for those artilleries. So you put an infantry, you block with another one, you put the artillery behind it.
It'll be a returning customer for sure.
Attack next time, so. Tala's gonna hit that com tower. Actually, yeah, both of them have the 2 com towers each. Gonna go for an interrupt. On this city right here. Gonna keep on fighting over there. Attack retreats a lot. Gonna try to sit up here at the fence, try to contest these 2 cities. Well, this one, but this one's gonna be for Rip. And looks like the most contested cities so far are these 2 and this city right here, the one across the bridge. And also probably this one right here. It's still neutral. And although Rip is in range to start capturing, Tal is also in range to interrupt that capture. We're gonna take a kill there. We're gonna bring this infantry actually. Okay, so instead of going this way, this infantry are gonna go towards the right, and these are gonna go down here. Okay, so it looks like this artillery is gonna probably go down here then. Like, interrupt this capture, set up the artillery, block off here. That would be really nice. Gonna get some shots. Finish all that infantry, finish up the other one. Get this one in range and start this capture next turn. And keep on interrupting over here. There is this tank in range, so this tank can go. Boop, take this guy out. And until you're gonna come in and
You run up walls again.
City pretty much from a distance. And I don't think tank could reach 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 now. Okay, so you don't really need to cover this infantry, could go somewhere else. Bring more infantry to maybe contest here. And yeah, that's it. Okay, so infantry's gonna take that out. Probably the tank is gonna take this guy out. Boom. These guys are gonna move in to try to get this city. It's really, really tight, right? Like, there's not a lot of space. They're very, very different from the other map where it was very open. Tanks were just like swinging from one side to another. We got a copter right in the middle of the map, which is very annoying. Say you make a tank here, boom, you just start hitting it with this copter. Like, there isn't another tile to hit this copter than the base, so you have to like move off the tank, use an entire book to take it out, and you're just base blocking yourself. That's really annoying. It's probably not worth it though to sacrifice a copter like that. But I know. Especially if there's more anti, right? So actually, the Tau is gonna go for this capture, although it is in range of this artillery. But probably it is to overwhelm it. So there's this artillery pointing at this tile, which is the one that defends the artillery. So, like, say this guy attacks here, boom, and these stay here, then tiles can easily shoot this, finish it off with another infantry, tank, boom, and then start the capture again. So, we'll have to see what Rip decides to do. Okay, decides to shoot at it. It is also in range of this base. And it's gonna start this capture as well. This artillery is just made it at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so really trying to test the city and kind of giving up on this corner for Rip. But there isn't any healthy infantry from tiles to try to get these cities. And not gonna go for that city. Looks like they're kind of equal income. The only difference is that Rip has this city, which Talos does not have. That's the only difference right now. And pulling back by Rip on the south here, because there's all these vehicles coming in, all these 2 tanks, copter, and Rip doesn't have the vehicle support. They're kind of invested over here to defend this city from this little army from Talos. Got a little tap there on Talos' artillery, but these guys are probably gonna die. We'll about to see if Talos really wants to keep up a fight in this area, which is 1 base range, rather than 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, kind of like 2, maybe 3 turns from this base. It is 2 turns from this airport, so that could help. Don't tank.
I'll take knockback.
Capture yet. And I'll pull out, try to heal that guy up. Wearing a little tap there with our copter because it is blocking, this tank is blocking this anti from being in. I get the KO there. Bring his infantry in range of the city, bring the tank, bring the other one, bring the helicopter. Oof, there's a lot of pressure. There's also pressuring the HQ, so you gotta be careful. If all this army is stuck here too much, then these 2 armies could kind of sneak up onto this HQ. Gonna get up. Oh, 2 KO on that infantry. Probably with the 2 com towers plus the planes here, 130, then the 120. Not sure if it's a roll or it's guaranteed. And a KO there actually retreats the artillery. Not sure why to this tile right here. 1, 2, 3. Maybe just away from this infantry. Okay, tanks going in to attack this artillery and this infantry. And this is copter, which is somewhat in range of this anti-air, but you have to kill these 2 tanks. Probably just one of them, but I don't think Grip can. Because you can only get 1 hit from here and another 1 hit here. So yeah, it doesn't seem like any of those tanks could be killed, which would enable this anti-air to line up and kill that copter. Now I got another copter, just kind of sitting back here. It seems like in both scenarios that this base or this area is under a lot of pressure and very limited in what it can do. This base kind of invested a lot over here, and also maybe from the infantry movement, the capture base, it kind of ended up down here. So it's kind of putting a lot of pressure onto this one base. Trying to defend the city, trying to defend the HQ area. All this being taken out, and it looks like Rip is gonna move in over here and try to overrun this com tower, try to flip it. Actually flips this city, the little bridge city, so it has a tiny income lead. Tanks from this area are gonna move down south to contest these vehicles over here. And he's gonna get the first strikes over here on these 2 tanks. Gonna block off this copter from, I guess, hitting this tank. from the mountain. Same with this one. Just tanks, and there's a lot of vehicles. Like, the vast majority of Rip's army is in this area. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 tanks, 1, 2, 3 anti-airs, copter, like, yeah. And more of them even coming down here. Just putting a lot of focus down here, trying to defend from this attack, this kind of pincer strike from Talos, no? Well, over here, there's not that much fire. Like, there's no vehicles over here. All of them kind of shifted downwards.